Marketing as a Foreign Language. This, the 264th episode. For everyone that's been downloading the podcast, I love you so much. Just in time for a quick recap of the social media news. And then we are going to chat with the one and only Ian Moyse, who is an absolute savage when it comes to scaling companies, selling them. He is the man when it comes to sales. He understands branding and marketing and sales at an incredibly high level. You're going to want to stick around for that. First article of the day, cnet.com. Scams make getting verified on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter a minefield. Scammers are falsely promising verification for money or personal information. It's easy to look at someone in their 70s and go, how could you possibly fall for that scam? But as you will quickly realize, as you get older, these scams obviously change. Here we've got some of the new stuff. We've got Enver Ceylan presenting himself as a Renaissance man. He's a Turkish social media consultant, musician, and actor who's played the lead role in many TV series and movies, blah, 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 blah. So basically, they're sending out messages, quote, your account has been followed for 30 days, and it's been determined that you are eligible to receive XYZ badge. So they're playing to people's desire to be higher in the hierarchy. Here's this badge. You go through the whole rigmarole, and before you know it, your personal information is gone. So be cognizant that folks are going to try to use that sense of you being an important person, badges, etc. TheVerge.com, YouTube's TikTok competitor, YouTube Shorts, is rolling out globally. Obviously, YouTube is driving a lot of revenue with their new YouTube Premium. They're getting into sports, etc., and they are not okay with TikTok's meteoric rise. YouTube, TikTok competitor, YouTube Shorts, is now rolling out. The service launched first in India last year before expanding to around 26 countries, including the US and the UK. Now, YouTube Shorts, which is still in beta, will be available across more than 100 countries around the world. So keep an eye out for that. As you all know, I'm very bullish on TikTok. If you are not on TikTok and you are a business, you should seriously consider it because there are many more users than there are creators. CNN.com, France hits Google with a $600 million fine. As I've mentioned before, international conglomerates, Alphabet, Twitter, TikTok, etc., are in many ways stronger than some small nations. But do you think Europe is just going to lie down? I don't think so. France's antitrust regulator has fined Google nearly $600 million and given the company 2 months to come up with proposals on how to pay publishers for their content or face more punishment. The regulator said in a statement on Tuesday that Google has disregarded several injunctions related to the tech company's negotiations with French news publishers. This is reminiscent of a story we covered in Australia, where each individual nation is going to have to come up with a solution and basically figure out what's going to work for them. Final article of the day, arstechnica.com. All links to all articles in the description. Google tries to attract Stadia publishers with better revenue sharing. Platform will take 15% cut on first $3 million in sales for new titles. As part of a Stadia keynote presentation today, Google announced several moves designed to attract more games and publishers to its streaming gaming service. Chief among these is a more generous revenue split for publishers. The same was true trying to lure streamers from Twitch, if I recall correctly, to a new streaming service. Chief among these, again, is the revenue split. Google will take only a 15% cut out of the first 3 million, so 85% going to the publishers themselves. Speaking of trying to get people to do what you want them to do, can you imagine hopping into a company and, as our guest today was saying backstage, turning the dials, just tweaking the dials, a little bit here, a little bit there? It's not magic. There is no magic wand. You got to know what you're doing. And once you've figured it out, once you understand how to tweak a company, a software, let's say, slowly over time, figuring out exactly who the client is, making sure that sales is talking to marketing. For example, with Send It Rising, I know that people love no contracts. They love no contracts. That should be in the marketing because I know people's eyes light up, cortisol diminishes, dopamine and serotonin go up. That's what people want to hear. And I know that from a sales perspective. And so we were just chatting about this backstage. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a real treat. The one, the only, Ian Moyse.
Hey, thank you for a big build-up and I was thinking, how much of our discussion you're going to share? There'll be nothing left to talk about, right?
I'm just saying, it is so impressive to take companies to exit. I think so many entrepreneurs dream about it, hope for it, pray for it, and you've done it. Not once, not twice.
Well, I've been brought into companies and gone on that final part of the journey where you need to drive the revenue, right? It's all about the revenue and the right shape of the business for that to be attractive. And typically what gets companies acquired is seeing an acceleration of all of the right metrics in that organization. And for me, in software as a service, in this space, what does that look like? It's low churn. Your customers are staying with you. Customers are on longer contracts because they're happy to be. Your average sales value is increasing. Your speed to acquisition of customers increasing. There are all these small dials where if you can show the right metrics, stroke the improvement, the consistent progression of those metrics, it has a compounding impact. So you quite rightly said, when I come in, I always assimilate what's the situation on all these, right? Because I'd love to, if I've got a magic wand and I can come in and just go, hey, it's all fixed overnight, then how's that business existed beforehand, right? How bad must it have been? So that's not what you experience. Typically, stuff's in a pretty good shape, but it's how can you improve it? And you can't suddenly flick one dial and go, well, I'm going to take this from here to here overnight. For me, I always look at, well, okay, let's identify what all those metrics are, know what the baseline is today and why it's there, and know what can we now do about that to move each of those metrics in a more positive direction. And if you move each of them with marginal gains, the compounding effect is far greater than each individual metric. And also the other important thing is people believe in it. Often you come in and there's an existing quorum of sales and marketing people. If you come and say, well, guys, we're going to triple the average deal value, and we're going to do it in 2 weeks, right? No one's going to believe you. No one's going to feel it's achievable. You just said, there's the mountain of Everest. We've never climbed before, but we'll go up there now, right? Much more appropriate to say, right, here's where I think we can get to over the next 9 months. We're going to take this value to there, stretch, what a stretch target. Not that it's just simple, but it's got to be something they believe in. And you also communicate how we're going to do it. What are the things we're going to do? What are all the small things we're going to do that are going to contribute towards achieving that? What are we going to focus on? Because you can't do it as an individual. You need everyone to buy. They've got to believe and understand what are the behaviors and actions that they're going to need to take. They're going to move us on that journey to get there. And guess what? Invariably, what I find is if you set 6 or 7 dials or metrics that we want to do, let's pick that 9 months, and the period depends on the business. You've got to assimilate individually, right? There is no one cookie cutter fits all here. But if you identify what they are, what I find is you get to month 9, and some of the metrics you far exceeded, some you didn't quite make, but you've improved all of them in the right direction, and overall you're in a better place. You've got more belief in the individuals. And they say, well, now what we're going to try and do is get to here. Now, I take pleasure in companies, for example, where I've been 3 or 4 years and I get the conversation. I've had this many times where someone has said to me, when you joined, and I had this last year, when you joined and you said these things, we didn't believe you. We didn't tell you we didn't believe you but as it started to happen and the results started to come of all those small things that we were doing, the belief came. And now looking back, boy, was it the right thing to do. Boy, salespeople who were, for example, doing £5,000, £6,000, £7,000 average deals, and I had one that had done a £250,000 deal, and I don't know how, I would never have even perceived that was a possibility, and it wasn't overnight, but aspirationally, they were all closing much bigger deals and thinking, we can do this. We've been on a journey, and it is a journey. And it's more fun, right? It's a fun thing to achieve, to then look back and go, look where we were a year ago, guys. Holy moly, right. So now you believe that, and we've proven we can do. Now we're going to go to this. Now we're going to go to this next part of the mountain. We've started the climb. Look down at what you can see, what we've done. Wouldn't have thought we could do that. Now we're going to take this part. And you've got more confidence and belief and method and process now to do that. And now let's take on another step. And it's fun to do it.
Yeah, I
Particularly
mean,
3 years in you. Yeah.
yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, it's just really wonderful. We are currently at Send It Rising, rolling out training. And one of my team members had a TikTok that just hit a million views, and her likes are over 1 million. And this is for her personal brand. And so I'm just so fortunate to have this incredible team. And so we're moving in that space. And a part of me is thinking about that as I listen to you, because it's not software as a service. It's obviously just a service. We're going to be training. But I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited about being excited. I don't know if you've ever been in a company for long enough where you're doing the same thing, and there's really one source of revenue, and it is what it is, and you're doing what worked in the past, and then you get hit by a global pandemic, and you make it through that. But it feels good to be offering something new. And we have a few guinea pigs, and we let them know that they're guinea pigs. We say, hey, look, we recognize that this is not something we've done a lot of in the past. But it's amazing how receptive people are when you're honest with them. We just let these clients know, hey, clearly our staff has a ton of experience with social media, and they do quite well. So let's give this a shot. And we've had overwhelmingly positive praise on that. My concern, and I guess my question for you is scaling training. Let's say I've got 2 staff members who can do it, but they're also doing other things. I would have to raise revenue enough to get them out of their current roles. So it's a bit of a balancing act, because they're also account managers. So I'd have to make enough money to get them out of account management to get them into the sales training, which is ultimately, I think, where they want to go with their careers. Does this make any sense? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a hard one, right? And I think it's the challenge of any business leader of you can't just throw money at things. You have to balance it. And it's easier to have the ideas and the plans than to execute them as fast as you'd like. And I'm someone who gets frustrated and wants to drive things, I want to be there now. I want to get to this point and be looking back and we've done it. It's fun. The journey's fun, but I want to get there now. I want this done now. I want to get this done now. Not the faster you can do stuff, the faster you can get to the goal and be aiming for the next one. But I think the big challenge is people, right? People are your key asset. Salespeople, marketing people, the engine, the support people, that is the asset that people are buying, and how effective you are. And it's very easy to lose sight of that. And what have you got then? You've got a brand as a company, but what makes the brand? What makes the customer experience? It's the individual. Right? If you talk to an agent at somewhere, whether you're an unhappy customer, whether you've been frustration, whatever. And I had a conversation today with a large finance corporation in the UK who I have engagement with, and pretty fundamental things. Why do I have to fill these forms? I've been with you this many years. This is, But the individual I dealt with was very professional in the way they dealt. Now, that will be reflective of me talking to you now, right? Saying, well, actually, it was very professional. Oh, no, how was that organization? Oh, they were great. But it's not the organization, it was that person. If I'd had a different person who was under high pressure and behaved differently, that would be my perception of that brand. So the individual, long way around to your question, but I think how you, particularly with what we've seen with the pandemic, is recognition that your employees and the strength and quality they bring is what makes you successful or not. For me, I've got young salespeople in my team. I've got quite a young team. And I've said to them, guys, there's lots of stuff I can coach you with and support and help you with. But at the end of the day, you're representative of us. And what I'll help you with is being professional. But these are the underlying things, right? Be respectful, be professional, be persistent. There's certain things, but there is a way of doing that. And I've got I'm back the balance between is putting undue pressure on them as opposed to the coaching and the results, right? And there's a fine balance there that you need to get right. And how many people have we seen where good people leave organizations? And I see the statements on social all the time, I'm sure you do, is they don't leave the company, they leave the manager, they leave the environment they're working in, the effect it's having on them.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And with COVID, we've got employees who, how many of us have been trained to deal with the mental stress of individuals? Because I haven't. I've never been. I've managed people for a long, long time, but I haven't been trained for that environment. And who has? Who's had that training to how to deal with people who've been working at home and are showing signs of stress or, you know, COVID PTSD I've talked about before? Is that going to be a thing where people coming back to an office are, how's this affected them? How do we know? I'm not a psychologist. I've not been trained in this, but that's our duty of care. And it is important to us, because if they're not productive, they're not in the right mental state, and we're not having that, it's going to affect the business, the results, and it's a vicious circle.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It is so fascinating to me how when the spirituality, and how dare you even mention the S word, Kellen, of business ownership and leadership, because at the end of the day, we're all still floating on it seems like an organism to me, the Earth. You know, the sun itself is moving at 500,000 miles per hour, circling the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which itself is also traveling in a certain direction. Our predicament as a human is bonkers.
Yeah.
Believe whatever you want to believe. It's bonkers. Like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, like the existential questions are real. And of course, trying to love each other as best we can during a pandemic. People are losing loved ones, the isolation, the difficulties. There are silver linings, talking about those. A lot of people have really enjoyed a lot of things about working from home and the freedom and the flexibility and being able to be with family. The divorce rate is through the roof. People are getting divorced because they're on top of each other. The stress is too much. The financial pressure is too much. And all of that, to me, is ownership of a company. All of it. Understanding people.
Well, I think the interesting piece when you're describing that is the following: is this is a time when people have wanted to connect with people, right? They've missed the human connection. And you mentioned spirituality, but I've said, you know, a couple of things. One is, isn't it interesting? And I've said to my salespeople, when you're speaking to people, I've never had a time in my career where I'm talking to people in their homes, right? And I'm seeing them in their homes, and I'm seeing their kids run by, and you're in the, oh, can I just go and get a parcel at the door? You're seeing them in their natural environment and engaging in a more personal way, because you're in each other's houses. So I've had it where I've been on calls with prospective customers, and my kids have run up and they've sort of chatted to them, and they said, oh, hi. And yesterday I had a call, so I was chatting about our kids, because it feels natural. If you're in their office, you're not going to go, oh, and do you have kids? But because you're at home, the conversations have naturally become more personal. So you've got this, you can build more rapport and relationship, because we're all experiencing the same weird situation and world that we've gone through. So I think that's one thing that's changed, as well as the impact it's had on our individuals. The other thing I'd mention is, because you mentioned that word, I mention a word that in business, because of what I do in our day job, One Up Sales, what we do is we provide a gamification solution that helps businesses motivate, etc., salespeople, etc. And one of the words I dare to use is fun. One of the byproducts of what we do is we bring some fun into your office, which drives productivity. And it's like a dirty word, right? And it's like,
how dare you, by the way?
Yeah, how dare you have fun at work, right? Well, do you know what? If you're having fun, if you're smart, you know, people at work have a water cooler moment. They have a joke with a colleague, and they have their buddies and stuff. It is a big part of your lives, because they don't matter how hours you spend at work. If you have some fun with it, if you enjoy your job, isn't there that famous phrase, which I'll definitely get wrong, which is when your work doesn't feel like work. I forget exactly. You know what I mean? It's when if you enjoy what you do intrinsically, it's not work. So if you can get that into your business, you get more productivity, you get more loyalty, all the right metrics. They all find their own way for you. And I think that's an important piece that's been missed. And that's what I look for with my teams is, How do I drive productivity and results, etc.? But how do I do it in a way that we're having fun doing it? We're a team. Sales and marketing's working together. We're a team. We're on the same mission, and where we've got exciting plans coming. And look, we're bringing this out. This guys, marketing's done this, and oh my god, I want sales excited about marketing's doing this. That's oh my gosh, that asset's really going to help us. That's really going to make it easier, or that's going to bring me more opportunity and make the environment to sell easier. And we have excitement together with what we're creating and what we're planning and what we're executing. That intrinsically means you don't lose staff. The number of times I've had people say, oh yeah, I've been approached from another job, and they're telling me, oh, they're offering me more money, and they're telling me, because they like what they're doing, right? It isn't just about the salary. It's do you like what you're doing? Have you having fun doing it? Are you going in the right direction, that you're earning what you want, or you can see it coming? I want to be here. And are you learning stuff? Are you getting better? And I call that earning, yearning, and learning. If all three of those are heading in the right direction, do you know what? You ain't going to leave that job, because you like it and you like being here, and you want to stay here and you want to be on the journey.
Yeah, no, I love that. I have the joke I tend to make is no fun at work. I only have one rule, and there's no smiling, no giggling, no laughing, no guffaws will be tolerated. And that usually gets people smiling. Because obviously, I mean, look, there are probably leaders out there that aren't that way, who see that sort of stuff as unproductive or whatever. I don't relate to those people. I don't understand those people. I'm all about the fun. As a former teacher, when you have students in your classroom, you don't choose them. But that's not what's going on in a business. Every single person on my staff is a rock star. And so you can have fun, because the problem when you're a teacher is you start to have fun, and then that kid throws a rock through a window for whatever reason. And so, that teaching has taught me so much. Oh, it taught me that it is disrespectful to keep someone on my staff that is going to make it harder for my other staff members. It is not okay for me to hire someone who's just going to drag everyone else down. And so, I learned that lesson. What do you do when it comes to hiring and firing?
So I think some important things. I think hiring, I absolutely agree with what you said there. It's about not just finding an individual who can be successful in what you're looking for, but are they going to fit the team? Are they going to fit the work environment? And the dynamic. And it isn't about being best friends with everyone at work, right? But you do need to get on with people. You do need to engage with them. And if you have someone of the wrong culture background in terms of their behavior, I don't mean culture as in religion or anything else, but their behavioral style. For example, a lot of the companies I've worked in are smaller, therefore it's like a family. We all get on, right? We have a joke, to your point. We're not corporate, we're not regimented, we're not political. If you're going to bring someone in who's only worked in large corporations, you better check out that they're going to fit that environment and not, be, it doesn't work for them, because it's as I say, it's an important part for them as well. So I'm always very transparent in the hiring process and say to people, look, I'm going to tell you as transparent as it is, and you can talk to other people in the company and team. I want you to know this is right. And if you turn it down, I'm not going to, in no way am I trying to convince you that this is right for you. It's naturally going to be right, or it's not. I'm not going to try and falsify it or convince, oh, you're a great candidate. I've got to show the shiny side. Because when you join, you're going to find the warts, right? Every company has warts in processes or whatever it is, right? You're going to know what it's like before you join. So when you join, you knew what you're going to go, this is exactly what I expected. Therefore, no surprises, because I don't want you unhappy, because it has an effect on the other people. It has an effect on you if you leave. It has an effect on me if you leave, because we have to restart. Where it does come that something doesn't work out, which invariably happens in life, right? You can't predict everything with human beings. I think the important thing is to be respectful and to deal with that in a way, because my opinion is it's not just about that. I've seen many where it's, we'll get rid of that person because it doesn't matter because they weren't here long. And yeah, you need to think about them and the reputation of your business that they take and how they do it, but also the people you've got. If you just hire and bring people in, they didn't work out, get rid of them. The people that are here are okay. Well, they're not, because if they see you treat another human being in a disrespectful manner, who, for all you know, they really like them as a person, but they just weren't capable or didn't fit to sell your product or whatever it is, okay, take it as it is. A mistake was made. Let's deal with it in a professional manner. I want them leaving where, if the people here are still in touch with them, they're going to go, oh, no, there's no bad vibes, because it'll impact on the people you've got, right? Well, if that's how they treat people, I liked Dave, I like Sue, and look how they've just treated them.
Right. No, that's a great point. You know, we live in this ocean of karma, where good luck trying to predict the ramifications of your actions, you know, and that's why the underpinning is love, always will be, as far as I'm concerned. You just try to be as loving as possible. And how do you lovingly fire someone? It seems like a contradiction. And
well,
perhaps it is.
Do it respectfully. Well, I've got people, and I'm proud of, who I've let go in the past because it didn't work out right. I'm not going to say who's the perfect hiring manager, never gets it wrong. But I've got a particular individual who you'd have thought they could have said, well, that's not fair, I haven't been here that long. And I said, but I did it in a way. And I also then said, look, if there's any help I can give you in helping you find the right role, and here's people I know in recruitment, I haven't got any bad vibe against you. It just wasn't the right fit. And they still keep in touch today. They're a friend on Facebook, whatever, years and years and years later, because of the way I did it. There's ways in dealing with bad situations. It's how you approach it. Are you genuinely, and I genuinely, if I have to let someone go, regardless if they haven't performed, I pain over it. The night before, I'm dealing with someone else's another human being's life, who's about to have a bad day, who's about to have to look for another job, all the things they have to deal with. Be respectful of that. You know, it's situation. Something happened, something didn't work out. Fine, unless they've been, you know, the worst of the worst, and you know there are exceptions. But in general, people make mistakes. You don't know what's gone on in their personal life. Has there been a reason they haven't performed? You know, they've lost a family member, but they didn't feel comfortable sharing it with their new colleagues or whatever. And particularly with what we've gone through, haven't we learned to live with? There's a lot of stuff people are having to deal with that you maybe don't know about.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. I think it's really easy as human beings to walk around looking at people and going, oh, they're healthy. No, they're not. They have some issue. They've got an issue, right? I mean, I don't know who doesn't have an issue. I mean, and that's been my experience with the relationships. Show me that perfect marriage. Go ahead. Show me that perfect relationship, you know? And so it's an invisible kind of suffering that many of us go through. But as we have these moments, you know, something happened. I won't go into details, but when it happened to me, I started, you know, chatting about it. Starts coming up in conversation, and all of a sudden you realize that all these people in your life have gone through something similar. And it's only when you've gone through it that the enlightenment occurs, that the flashlight turns on, and you realize, oh wow, a lot of people are going through this. Having a body is a little rough. Being a human being is a little tricky. It tends to break down. And those health issues can really zap a work ethic, you know? And so, yeah, you just do never know what folks are going through. It's still not enough. It's still not enough. If the rest of my staff is just dying because this person cannot do their job, you know, like there is a minimum amount that someone has to go through. And maybe one day, you know, we'll figure out automation and robots, and we won't have to work as much, and it won't be a thing. But until that day comes, I have to, because look, the other members of my staff are suffering too. I mean, they're grinding it out. They've got the scary meeting coming up, and they're losing sleep over what they got to do for that 8 o'clock meeting. And they got that lawyer in Indiana with the Supreme Court case coming up, and this and that and the other. And of course, they've got their own kid stuff and health drama and everything else. So, you know, how to live a perfect life, I'm not the guy to tell you how to do that. But, you know, I can tell you that I do try to maintain a strong, I flex my compassion muscle, if that makes sense, as best I can. We are running out of time. I want to make sure that our guest today has a chance to shamelessly, capitalistically pitch. So why don't you take a minute, Ian, and just let folks know where they can reach you.
Sure, thank you. And that leads into a subject I talk about often. You mentioned briefly personal branding. So an easy tip. So yeah, you can reach me if you go to ianmoyse.co.uk or ianmoyse.cloud. That will take you directly to my LinkedIn and Twitter profiles. You'll find me on other social media platforms, but those are probably the two most pertinent to engage with me on. So yeah, by all means, come and follow me there. I share hopefully insightful content around sales and marketing and interesting stuff that could add some value to your day.
Ian is the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. What a joy to have you on the show. I really appreciate it. Y'all know the drill. YouTube.com/Send It Rising is where you can watch the live show, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you are listening to us after the fact on iTunes, Spotify, or the 10 other podcast platforms we are currently on, we love you. We appreciate you. That is episode 264. Thank you all, and we will talk